also happened in the recent past. So have you seen any good films recently? She says in front of the lockers. Very common American high school time. Unfortunately, I've been very busy lately. So recently and lately doesn't give us an exact time. It doesn't frame anything exactly, but they are adverbs. Adverbs that modify the verb have been. Okay? And they tell you generally that something happened not too long ago. There's been a great progress against cancer recently, especially the scientist Aziz Sankar, who won the Nobel Chemistry Prize, has found okay, and rule 6, already, just, and yet. We also use these words in this tense, the present perfect tense. Okay, so we can use the same tool here using just. The room is dirty now, present simple. It is clean now. She has just cleaned, using the word just to talk about the recent past again. Think about how important talking about the recent past is. Have you sent the emails yet? Of course, boss. I have already sent them. The washing machine is still working. It hasn't finished yet. Still, yet, are again just are words that we're going to use to frame this instead of words like last week and before. Okay, this is Hyung-gyu. He lives in Korea, but he's not in Korea now. He has gone to Egypt. He's been in Egypt for 1 week. So again, talking about your traveling and things that you've done in your past, you can use the present perfect to talk this way. And it's especially a good way to talk about travel or jobs that you've had before or experiences that you've had before when you want to discuss your past. Have any of you ever traveled to Egypt? A few years ago, a lot of my students had gone to Egypt, but now it's a bit more difficult, right? It's a bit more difficult to do. It's because of some political problems and some problems that Egypt has been having for the past 5 or 6 years, which is very, very unfortunate because it's quite a beautiful country. Anyways. Okay, so present perfect is something that if we have the test, it's going to be on the final test, okay? It's going to be on the final test if we have one. And here's our little mummy playing around in the back. You like that sound effect? Yeah, it is the office sound effect. So, as I said, I want to have our final assignment be the job interview, some kind of job interview for this class, which maybe we'll do by Zoom or something along those lines. I think that's going to work. I think so. So, I want to continue that, and we just learned about since, ago, and for in the present perfect. So I want to try to use it for our job interviews, okay? So it's going to be, if we give a job interview for your final assignment, there'll probably be both a test and a job interview via Zoom, and you guys will sign into Zoom and come and talk to me, and we'll do it that way. So I want you guys to be able to answer questions using this present perfect, okay? Using present perfect. So you'll be scored on whether you can do it correctly and use since ago for at least 3 times correctly. All right? So that's what we do. And I'm trying to make everything that we do in class come up on the test or come up on assignment or something. You know, so that you're not like learning something just for whatever. You know, it's hard to make sure that happens in the online class, but that's my goal. There's always a purpose for these things. So we're going to practice some different questions for the job interview, and you tell me whether we use since, ago, and for. Okay, since, ago, and for. All right, do you remember the difference between since and for? Yeah, since is from a date, and for is like from an amount of time. And ago works kind of similar. We're going to talk about ago, like 6 years ago, in this a bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit here. So let's take a look at this one here, right? What is correct? What do you think is correct? We received your CV or your resume 2 weeks. Well, we're talking about an amount of time, so it's going to be since we received your CV 2 weeks since, 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks for. I think most of you are already saying, even though we didn't go over ago, you already know ago is the correct answer. This one's kind of a better one to do in the class, right? Because we can like talk to each other and quiz each other about it. So 2 weeks ago. Now ago, of course, is always going to go after the amount of time, which makes it different than for 2 weeks. For shows like more of like a duration of time, something that happened within that duration of time. 2 weeks ago marks when it happened, but not necessarily a duration. We have no secretary blank January when the previous one retired. So January, since January, ago January, or for January. Is it since? Is it ago? Is it for? I think you know we're marking from a specific time in the past, right? Therefore, it must be since. That's right. Have you been working the last 2 years? You know that some people who are trying to hire you are going to ask what you've been doing for the past few years, right? And I know especially Korean employers don't like people to just be sitting around doing nothing for a few years, right? So yeah, they want to know where you've been. So have you been working? That's right, for the past 2 years. Or for the last 2 years. No, I haven't worked blank. I got married. So we're talking about something that happened in the past, right? From a certain time in the past. So what could it be? That's right. Since I got married. How long is it blank you got married? Again, it's the same one, right? It's marking a period of time that an event that happened in the past from that time. So it should be since you got married. How long since you graduated? How long since you moved to Korea? How long since you started dating? How long since you've eaten dinner? Okay, again, marking since 2008. I'm married or I've been married since 2008. It should again be since. Pretty easy, right? So dates in time, events in time, use since. And I got divorced 3 months blank. Okay, so she got divorced. She broke up with her husband. They are now divorced. So 3 months ago. We're talking about amount of time, and it comes after. Remember, ago usually comes after. For comes before. That's easy to remember, right? For comes before. So you've been married blank 5 years. Well, we just said it. What comes before the amount of time? 4. You've been married for 5 years. So you've been studying English for 5 years. So you've been studying Chinese for 3 years. Yes, I had a baby 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Again, ago comes after and talks about from a certain amount of time. Before I got married, I studied at university blank 3 years. Again, periods of time. Before, what do we use? You know it. Also, it is for. When did you get your university degree? I got it 8 years ago. 8 years ago. You're seeing the pattern here. Now, can you use it on the test? When I want in our interview, you're going to have to say the full sentence. Don't just say 8 years. You're going to have to say the full sentence if you want to try to get the full credit. The full credit. And when did you leave your last job? I left it 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Have you lived in this city blank many years? Should it be since? It's not ago, right? Because it comes before. Is it since or for? That's right. Yes, I've lived here blank my childhood. So child, of course, means, the time you were growing up, when you were a kid. So yes, I've lived here since my childhood. Since my childhood. Would you like to work with us blank a long time? Well, it comes before, so you know before is for. Of course, in an interview, they're going to ask whether you're short-term or long-term. That means you want to work for them a long time or a short time. Most companies want you to stay for a long time, right? You're an investment. They train you. They want you to stay there for a long time, if you can. Yes, I would like to work here. Well, this is kind of a little bit strange, right? But it should be forever. But forever is usually one word. Okay, you'll be tested blank a month. So how long are we going to test you? We're going to test you for a month. Okay, so this is the kind of question that they're going to ask you at the job interview. At the job interview. Now let's think about in the waiting room before the job interview. In the waiting room is another time when you get to make a first impression, remember? So showing up early to the waiting room, being dressed nicely, and acting appropriately. I think this is the same in Korea as it is in United States or England, but there might be some differences, just some kind of reminders, okay? Just some kind of reminders. Okay, imagine you're the boss. Who would you like to work with? Put yourself in their position. Think about them, the boss, and what they have to do and how they want to make their company better, how you can make their job easier. Think about yourself as the boss and what kind of person do you want to work with? I can tell you when I used to hire people at the university, I always had to think about who I want to work with. Who will be a good person at the university, who's going to make students happy, who I'm going to like to talk to. So think about yourself and who if you were the boss, who you would select to make your company happy, and then think of and change yourself to fit that. Okay. So do you want a bored person or a cheerful person? This one might be a little bit different in Korea, I think, but in an American company, I think a person who is always smiling and cheerful is going to look like somebody who wants to cooperate and who's going to be interesting and is going to bring new ideas to a company, who's going to bring new kinds of ideas to a company. So which kind of person are you? Are you bored at the interview or cheerful in the interview? I think sometimes I think in Korea it's considered more professional maybe to not show too much emotion, right? To an extent that could be true in American company as well, but I think often they're going to look for some person who looks like the lady in the right picture at an American company. A lady who looks like the person in the right picture in an American company. It could depend, but in general, that's the case. So, interested about somebody who's distracted or concentrated. Distracted or concentrated. So, a person who's easily distracted and is not talking like a lot to other people, is focused on the job, who are you going to choose? Distracted person or a person who's focusing on getting ready for the job? I know when you go to the interview, it can be you might want to talk to the other people, and that's not necessarily bad. I know I want to do it too. I want to talk to people. I want to communicate with people, but some people don't really like it. So a person who's concentrated, focused, but still happy and showing a little bit of emotion or excitement or interest about the job is going to be the best one to choose, right? Rude or good mannered. Now, you can